but they don't realize that bigger bikes comes with bigger expenses. It's easy to buy them, but in the long term, you're not extracting even 20-30% out of it, but you're paying 50% of your salary. So
it's absolute stupidity.
Actually. Hello and welcome back to today's podcast, and this podcast is about choosing your next motorcycle. So today we have my buddy here, Rahul again.
Now a new podcast about what are the factors you should consider when choosing our next motorcycle.
Rahul will be posing himself as a motorcycle enthusiast who will be looking to upgrade from his 150cc motorcycle. I think this podcast will be very helpful for beginners and also intermediate motorcyclists who will be looking to upgrade to their next motorcycle. And as you all know that everybody has a different function from that they want to get from their motorcycle. Maybe somebody likes to tour, somebody likes to go for city rides, and maybe like weekend rides, weekend getaways. What is your function? What do you want to get from your motorcycle?
Exactly. So touching on this factor, like you said, everyone should optimally look for the function that they need while choosing their next motorcycle. For example, usually what people might consider is they might be into a particular style of motorcycle, but their riding style or the way they want to interact with their motorcycle might be different. Their use case might be different. So for example, I personally like nakeds, but I also like to go do trails. I like to go tour, which gets a bit problematic when you do it on nakeds or street fighters, because on highways there's wind blast, also the low ground clearance, and those are the factors that I might not consider while buying my next motorcycle. That won't be optimal for me. But I like, as you might already know, I have a very big fan of the Duke 390, and it's been years that I have thought of getting my next motorcycle as a Duke 390. But after this many years of being connected to motorcycles and riding different motorcycles, I think that right now personally ADV would suit me better. My options that I have, the things that are coming up, so maybe I might consider a ADV over a naked.
I'll tell you, the first part of this podcast will be about choosing the right motorcycle. So as I said earlier that everybody has a very different function that they want to get out of their motorcycle. Like I know you also go for tours, long tours also, and your existing motorcycle, I'm pretty sure you think right now that it might not be suitable for very long tours, but it can do decent highway touring, because I have ridden FZ version 3 and it can easily like cruise 80s comfortably, maybe all day also. But again, you need that confidence overtaking trucks and other bigger vehicles, which you will not be able to do on your existing motorcycle, because I would say going from 80 to 100, your bike will surely struggle a little bit. Maybe if you had a Duke or maybe even a 250cc motorcycle like a V-Storm 250, it would be very easier for you.
So yeah, I have had my decent experiences of touring on the V-Storm. So that's a motorcycle that's very close to me. So that is actually what made me consider ADVs on the first place, because I was a naked person from the start. Then one day my friend bought a V-Storm and I rode it extensively. We also had the Himalayan, but I wasn't very connected to the Himalayan at that point of time. But when I did ride the V-Storm, it was like something totally different. On nakeds, like FZ is also naked. So as you said, it can cruise up to 70 or 80 all day. But we should also consider it will do that. It will do that effortlessly. I have ridden the FZ on 80s, 90s for 4 to 5 hours continuously, covered more than 300-400 kilometers on a stretch. But the things that we should also consider is what the motorcycle was made to do. Because
Exactly.
these companies are not sitting idle, right? They have a huge research team behind it. For example, most of the commuter motorcycles, FZ is a commuter, and mostly it's a air-cooled machine. and considering the weather we have in India, it gets very hectic for the motorcycle being an air-cooled machine to do that for a continuous stretch of time, and it might even not might it will decrease the longevity of your motorcycle, increase your service costs extensively.
And I'm pretty sure you're aware of the high bills Yamaha is known for. So I think for 150cc commuter motorcycle with a bigger, thicker tire, rear tire, um, I'll be honest with you. I don't think it's worth it spending 4,000, even 5,000 or more per service from authorized service centers.
So yeah, touching upon this, recently I took it for service for the version 3 of the FZ. Ball racer, okay, the front ball racer, it costs you 2,300.
Yes.
So which is like I mean the Himalayans ball racer costs 1,500 and FZs cost 2,300.
Forget Himalayan. Are you aware of the price of the cone set of an ADV 390?
It comes down around 1,800 or something.
It's just 450 something.
Oh my god.
And that's a performance. I would say it's a performance touring motorcycle with the best single cylinder engine. So let's not go too much details into the models of the motorcycles. But again, there are many factors we should consider before upgrading. For you, I'll get back to you, but I'll share my opinion, like my own purpose. As you know, I don't tour that much, like not every 2-3 months like that. Maybe just once a year, maybe, and that too depends on my work schedule and all. So when I got the FZ25, I mean I should have got other motorcycles. This is what I considered. But anyways, I ended up buying it. I think I grew over the motorcycle. I upgraded myself on it. Actually, I upgraded on the Hornet first, and then worked on a lot of things, basics, on the FZ25. But then I felt that okay, there are a lot of things that bike, or rather that engine lacks. So I had several motorcycles and a lot of factors in mind, that the parts should be easily available. The service cost should be a little bit reasonable, not too high. And I had the GT650, which belonged to Ahmad Bhai, as you all know, for 6 to 7 days. And I did not like the GT before, but I ended up buying one just because it has a very good engine. And yeah, there are a lot of factors to consider, including the parts and the spares. And I would say for a budget 650cc, the parts are pretty reasonable. They are very well available in the market. So I don't think I'll have any issue finding Royal Enfield parts as of now. So that was my factors that I considered. And also the pricing, like this one I got used. I got it at a very good price.
So yeah, like you said, so this is actually one of the factors people should think about before upgrading or getting their next motorcycle. That is knowing the flaws of your own motorcycle. That plays a very important part. So when you are choosing to upgrade to your next motorcycle, the first thing that comes is you should be able to get out. I'm not saying 100%, but at least 90% of your motorcycle's performance.
Of your existing motorcycle.
Exactly. And you shouldn't be biased, first of all.
Exactly.
You should know the flaws of your motorcycle. Like, I can talk about FZ's disadvantages or its downsides or its cons all day long. Exactly. But do I not love the motorcycle?
Of course you do.
I absolutely do. I'd choose that over probably the feeling that I get when I connect to it. It's something different.
So, like you said, there will be a lot of cons in every motorcycle, but it's up to the rider, filling up that gap
Exactly.
between the thing that your bike lacks, and a lot of people will say that even for example for the GT650, it's a heavy motorcycle, and people who have never ridden one, who usually, I'll not say which motorcycle they ride to bring them down or something, but who have never ridden this motorcycle, they will say it's very heavy, the handling is bad. But I ended up leaning more than that. Even, like, I'll not brag about it, but at the end it's about the rider. Like I can do pretty good slow speed on his FZ, because that's how you fill the gap. If you have any cons of a motorcycle, if there's areas which it lacks, you can surely fill it up. You'll not find a very perfect motorcycle. There's no such motorcycle that is perfectly made for you.
So what he is trying to say is the next factors that you should like consider are its ergonomics as per se, like the handling factors, the
Exactly.
seating factors, the height factors, and like for example I'm 5'6", so ergonomics does play a very huge role.
Yeah, it does.
So I cannot get on a as per say F850 GS and think about making it my primary motorcycle.
But some intellectuals and gyanis, they will suggest, yes, Bulu Patnaik can ride GS 1250. Why can't you do that?
Because the skill level is huge.
Exactly.
There's a huge difference in the skill level. The way Bulu sir rotates a ADV 390 on a closed space, I cannot do that. I am yet to achieve that skill level. Yet to achieve that.
He's filling up the skill gap.
Exactly.
The cons of the motorcycle.
Exactly. Bulu sir actually went up to Nelly, got trained before on riding ADVs. He got trained from one of the best instructors. Okay, to how to ride a ADV, how to use them, how to maneuver them properly, right? So that is something that I am yet to do.
So, like we have spoken about the different factors, obviously not related to specifications, it was more about external factors, budget, maintenance, ergonomics, and all these things. We'll talk about more about the specifications also now. So, yeah, after you want to upgrade from FZ25, let's talk about the engine size and power. The thing I would suggest is, if you're moving on to your next motorcycle, you should have at least twice the power. Not exactly twice, maybe like you have 10 to 15, 12 bhp. How much is your FZ making? I think V3 makes around 11. But again, if I said twice, then it would mean that you should buy something of maybe
Below
20, 30. But obviously it's not ideal.
It's not ideal.
You will ride that 250cc for maybe max to max 2 years, and then you will get bored of it and tired of it. You'll grow over it. So yeah, why not, maybe something like 35, 40 bhp.
But also there's another thing we should consider, like I will consider a 400cc or 500cc right now. But another thing that we should keep in mind is I have had my enough share of experiences on 250s and 300s earlier. I will not say up to 70 or 80%, but I am able to get out at least 60 to 70% of its performance. Now we should also, I guess, talk about if you are entirely beginner, you have just rode maybe scooters or 125cc, 150cc before. I guess you should get some prior experience properly before switching to a 500cc that makes almost close to 50 horsepower, because that's a crazy lot of power.
I totally agree with you on that. And yeah, I would say if somebody is upgrading from a scooter, there's nothing wrong. He or she can definitely get something like a 150 or even 250cc. So for India, I think 250cc is pretty good if you are considering mostly commuting, and if you're not trying to push that your motorcycle to its limits or something like that. But again, end of the day, you will end up getting bored of it, and most probably I know a lot of people who have not reached potential of their motorcycle. Maybe they have 150cc also, but they don't know anything about their motorcycle. They don't know service intervals, they don't know how to do this and that small things, but they just want to show off and buy a bigger motorcycle, just for the sake of showing off to your friends or maybe anybody else. So that's not a good thing. But again, it's their money, they can do whatever they want. But in this podcast, we are just going to this is going to be as a guide for anyone who is looking to upgrade.
Exactly.
So yeah, let's consider the next factor, that is the weight. So I think for you, the weight of the motorcycle is kind of important. I'll not suggest you a motorcycle which makes maybe like 23, 22 bhp, 24 bhp and weighs around 200 kilo. Obviously, that will not be a good thing for you. What do you think about it?
Yeah, so the power to weight ratio is very important.
Actually,
So you cannot actually have a motorcycle that produces less than 30 bhp but weighs around 200 kgs. So the whole factor of getting a higher cc gets diminished right over there.
correct. So obviously you will not consider them, but for you maybe something like a 160 kilo, 165, 170, uh, maybe the Adventure 390, or even like I personally suggested you the Honda CB
CB
300.
300R.
It's a
So
very good
that's a crazy
motorcycle.
motorcycle that weighs almost around 160 or 170s, produces 31 bhp, and it feels crazy. It feels fast. It
It's more
feels
nimble
lively.
than, yeah, it's more nimble than a MT-15. So
Exactly.
if you guys have not ridden, please take a test ride. And
It's very great.
it's a very beautiful machine.
The CB 300R, the 300F.
F is the engine is little different
Yeah.
compared to R, but again, if you have the budget, go for the R. It's a crazy machine. So the weight was the factor, and the next factor is ergonomics.
Ergonomics.
So yes, again, now I can easily, I'm kind of comfortable with my like a cafe racer style motorcycle. I can also ride maybe straight handlebars, naked motorcycles, anything. But I think he might not like the idea of that. He might be into more into adventure bikes, or maybe straight handlebars kinds of motorcycles, or even nakeds, because he's used to riding the FZ25. FZ.
FZ. So basically, what it boils down to ultimately is get the motorcycle that you feel comfortable, or upgrade yourself.
Correct.
So we know people who have done insane amount of kilometers on the R15, the RC390, right? So there's that, but I personally won't ever do that. I would prefer a ID. Like for example, we talked about the CB300R. I love that bike, but I won't consider that because why? First thing is the posture is a bit aggressive on the towards the not totally. Handlebars are you need to bend down a bit, and considering also the luggage carrying capacity, you cannot really do that on the CB300R. And also like you said that so I would rather go for a ADV, right? So either you upgrade yourself, you can do insane amount of kilometers. We have friends who
Yeah.
do that on sport bikes, but if you plan to do that, you need to upgrade your fitness that way. You need to make sure you have good core strength, good back,
Exactly.
lower back strength, so that most of the stuff that happens, you are able to handle that.
So I've seen a lot of people. I'll not try to degrade them or something, but I've seen putting panniers and handlebar risers and whatnot on track bikes like Apache RR310, and they tour with that on pillion. Please don't do that. I mean, personally, I would never do that. It's meant for maybe like decent amount of highway rides. You can also tour on it solo, but don't put that garbage shit on the like saddles on, especially on a track bike. Even on R15 I've seen putting straight handlebars. Just buy something else. There's a lot of options.
Exactly. Just
As CB300F, it costs less than an R15.
that's
You can get
like
that.
the best thing you can get right now for touring, considering the amount of
Exactly.
fitness you have, the weight cost. It I guess it comes under 2 lakhs right now.
Yes, it's touching 2 lakhs.
It's
But
touching 2
there's
lakhs.
one factor I'm like few riders have complained about, but I'm not sure how true that is. But the thing is that the engine is not up to the mark if you compare it with the 300R. So if they would have got the same engine somehow, it would have been a game changer. The CB300F is the upgraded version of the FZ25, nothing else.
So basically, I guess we can touch down on the next factor from this, price factor, right?
Next
So,
is new and used. Ah,
so we can actually talk about the pricing factor from now, because in India we need to consider the pricing factor.
yeah,
Obviously.
pricing is very important.
Pricing is very important. We are a price sensitive market. Most of us cannot afford 2 or 3 motorcycles for different purposes. So the best bet we have is we need to do sacrifices for it. We need
Exactly.
to choose the best motorcycle that suits our budget, and the most we are going to use it for, right? So like my purpose, it's mainly commuting in the cities and doing maybe 2-3 trips within 3 to 4 months, like that, right?
Exactly.
So even considering that, a 390 might be not be a good option for me, because in cities it's a bit skeptical, right? So, but there's that.
Yes, so I mean, if you're riding daily, like 50 to 100 kilometers also, you might not like the 390. There could be a lot of like people who would ride it no matter what. But again, uh, practically speaking, uh, if I had to get something else as a daily motorcycle, keeping the GT 650, I would have got something like the CB300F or something, because, or even the Gixxer 250. It's a very
Uh-huh.
good machine.
So the Jixers
Even
are a
the
beauty right now.
V-Storm is like, if you get V-Storm, it will do everything for city, highway, touring, everything. And the mileage you get is also a very good number. So the next thing we can talk about is, like you were talking about pricing. It's related to pricing. It's about whether you should get a new one or a used one as your next motorcycle. Now I'll share for the used one. The reason I got GT used is because I saved a lot of money buying a used GT 650. I'm not a Royal Enfield fanboy or anything. I would have easily got something new with warranty and stuff. But again, if I get something at half the price, I can do a lot of modifications on it, and I can make it, customize it in my own way. But again, for you, like I also suggested you many times that you might consider getting a used one, but then again you have, like you believe that, oh, there might be some issues with it or not. So what's
So
your take on that?
yeah, my take on that is, I personally believe that getting a used motorcycle, if it's in a good condition, it's a steal deal. What I personally like, the next bike I buy, so I might not get it used one, because I have this weird predomination that I want to have a new motorcycle where I want to make fresh memories with it. I want it to be my own totally. Okay.
We are
And
talking about motorcycles only.
so yeah, so make sure there's no previous mileage on it. So that's a personal predomination that I have. But for considering that, like for example, if I decide to spend 4 lakhs, I might get the new Maler, I might get the new ADV that's coming up. There's the new Versus, most probably.
Yes,
Also, so these
but
are mostly the options we have in the ADV category, mostly. So that come to my mind top.
again, I'll interrupt you in this, and I'll share that uh, buying the most premium motorcycle from a regular brand, like maybe like Bajaj. It's not, obviously it's a big brand, but from a not
Indian brand.
not so premium brand, maybe Indian brand, yeah, is better than buying the cheapest motorcycle from
We know
a
what you are.
foreign brand, like maybe like if you get a G310 or anything, just for getting the brand's badge, for sake of that, it's not a good idea, because again, in the long term, you will understand how painful it is on your pocket, because maybe a Dominar 400 is so easy to maintain than his FZ 150. It's very reasonably priced. The parts are very easily available, and
And that's a very good motorcycle.
actually it is a very
we
underrated
can
motorcycle.
we can do, it's a I personally regard it as a do-it-all motorcycle. I
You
do
still
that.
have that in, I think you can still have it in option maybe later
Yeah,
on.
I do like, I took it to Meghalaya, I took it to trails, I took it to highways, I took it to curves, took it to bends, and it did all of them so purposefully. Even there were times where I, like, mostly I felt the bike felt so comfortable and so confident. The bike was initially, it was basically like that, I'll do what you want me to do, but make sure you are capable of handling me.
Exactly.
So that is what the Dominar says you. That is what most 400cc say you. It will crunch up everything. So it's a very good motorcycle. Dominar is a very good motorcycle.
And then again, people who complain about it being heavy also, uh, I think yes, it is heavy, but again, it's up to you how you cope up with the motorcycle.
Just train yourself, man.
Exactly.
Just train your legs. Don't skip leg days.
So So yes, we have covered the style preference also, like the kind of motorcycle that you are into, you might consider, and the adventure motorcycle is blooming. So that's why you're like for your own purpose also. I think adventure will be a very good option. Now let's talk about the next step, that is uh, getting test rides. Uh,
Very important.
Once you have selected the models, suppose you have got suppose you have got Adventure 390 in mind, or you have got the Himalayan. Maybe you have just shortlisted two motorcycles. So now the next thing that you will do is, uh, it's my personal take on this, that you should contact owners who have already bought it. You should take feedback from them, how the service and how well skilled the service center technicians they are, and then try to get as many test rides as possible.
So what I personally do is, you might be aware of it. I like a motorcycle. I find places to go. I find places to rent it out. I rent it out for a week or two. I do whatever I might be doing in that short span of time. And I have been doing that for the past 2 years. I have almost covered most of the bikes. Some breathtakingly painful. I did a lot of kilometers back in Hyderabad on the RC390. I took the RC390 up on trails.
Wow.
Okay, so that was very painful. Won't recommend it.
Obviously, it was not the perfect motorcycle.
It was not that, but I like doing those experiments because I don't want to give my views on something before I have decent amount of experience on it, before I get to know how it handles, how it does things. Like for example, let's talk about Dominar once more. There's a lot of predomination or prejudice against Dominar, like the engine stalls, the engine does this, the engine does that. So it might do that for me, but it might not do for you, right?
Correct.
Because I might have a different response time. I might have my way of shifting gears. I might have my way of interacting with the clutch. So that won't necessarily apply to you.
Exactly. So I had the Adventure 390 for a week, maybe, or maybe 4-5 days, and I never stalled. Like people complain that you stall on slow speeds and maybe speed breakers, but again I got over it. It's all about clutch control. So once you master it, I think you can ride any motorcycle without any issue. You might face an issue maybe sometimes when you're climbing uphill, but then again with experience you can get over it.
So mostly what happens is KTM's are high compression engines, right? So you need to have some decent exposure of how to handle a high compression engine, how that gearbox works.
Exactly.
You cannot really switch from a long stroke motorcycle into KTM and expect you to. I'm not saying you aren't able to ride properly. You are just not used to, right?
Exactly.
Like for example, the first time I rode a ADV 390, it was after I had decent exposure on the Vistrom 250. And Vistrom 250 is also fairly, it has shorter gears. You need to do the shifts very early, right? So I had that in my muscle memory. So
But V-Storm has better low end torque. That's
has-
why you will
it
not.
has, exactly.
You don't have to switch two gears like
Yeah.
you have to do on 390.
Exactly.
So yeah, after getting test ride and everything, the next step would be for a buyer, like for a motorcycle enthusiast, before upgrading, is considering the budget as well. So now you have decided you will get maybe one out of these two motorcycles. The next step is planning to get it, like financially. So suppose you're getting a new motorcycle, you will think about either paying it all up front, you will pay the whole amount, or you can get a down payment done and get it into EMIs. There's nothing wrong with it. Obviously it's your motorcycle, at the end of the day you're buying it, so you should know how to plan, set your budget for it. And yes, I would never recommend somebody to get into very high EMIs. It's not a good idea. Try to maybe if you have the FZ, if you want to sell the FZ, you can sell the FZ, you can add a little bit more funds to that, and you can decrease the EMI amount. In that way it will not be a burden to you. So I've seen a lot of people, especially with bigger bikes and limited income, what they do is, even for used motorcycles, they would get into a large amount of EMIs, but they don't realize that bigger bikes comes with bigger expenses. It's easy to buy them, but in the long term, uh, you're not extracting even 20-30% out of it,
Exactly.
but you're paying 50% of your salary. So
It's absolute stupidity.
actually, but again, if they want to buy it, I'm not
So,
going to stop.
yeah, I know this is about motorcycles and this is not a finance podcast. maybe,
Exactly.
but also, you should probably get your priorities a bit straight. You never
Correct.
know what's waiting for you in your future.
Exactly.
So, suppose you get like, for example, you get a bike that's worth 5 lakhs. You pay 70,000-80,000 down. You get it on the terms. You are paying almost, I don't know, 6 to 7k as EMI for 3 to 4 years. So, how are you even going to maintain that bike? I mean, it might be possible for you to maintain. So, there are a lot of laws like 20, 30, 30, 30,
Exactly.
40. So, you might consider them. Because if you are paying a EMI of 8k every month, and then after 3 months, your 500cc motorcycle needs its regular services, which will easily go up to at least 6 to 7k.
Exactly.
Like even for premium brands, like I am paying almost for properly getting the service done from service centers. My FZ costs almost around 4,000 to 5,000.
And that's a very
Very huge thing. And you cannot really expect to. Suppose I bought the FZ,
yeah.
I saved up for some time, I bought it totally upfront. There was no loan for it, nothing. Now I can consider getting the service done, but consider this: if I had a EMI of 5,000 or 6,000 on top of me,
Exactly.
plus I am giving 4,000 or 5,000 every service,
It's not very practical.
it's not possible. It's not possible
That's-
for most people in India.
That's when Bajaj comes to play, and then you have cheaper in Hero also, and you have a reasonably priced motorcycles at a very affordable service cost. You won't believe it's so cheap that the Expulse suspension and all these things are expensive, 6,000, 7,000. But end of the day,
Cheaper considering its
Exactly.
other options.
so yeah, again warranty is there. Warranty comes to play, and there are a lot of factors. So we did touch upon the finance part.
So another thing that we might consider is, you know Shudip Dare?
Yeah, I do know.
Phoenix Customs.
Yes,
So he's a great guy. He does very great customizations and everything. He does trails. One of the best probable people from Kolkata who is very into trail riding. So I previously once had this predomination that the motorcycling, the kind of motorcycling that I want, that is the absolute thing. But he once said me something. He said that motorcycling comes in different flavors. What might attract me might not attract you.
exactly.
Some people might want a motorcycle for trails. Some people want it for different things. Even some might want it for the chick magnet factor.
It's not everybody's piece of cake. Like same cake might not,
Fit everyone. You might not like
Exactly.
the flavors. You might not like the flavors of the cake. So there's that, and you shouldn't necessarily discriminate others. Obviously, if they are causing some sort of harm to you, doing hooliganism on the roads, that's a different factor. But if someone is decent enough, but that guy is like, there might be better options. There might be better things. Like for example, I have a friend. He has the G310 RM. So before buying it, he was talking to me, everything. I did say him that it doesn't make sense to get a BMW as per se with a logo.
Cheapest
of it.
BMW.
Cheapest BMW. And not getting the enough performances, the amount of performances you are paying for. So he did say that, bro, it doesn't matter to me that much. What I prefer more is the aesthetics of the bike. Okay, and that is what is close to my mind. I grew up admiring S1000RR. I don't have the budget to get a S1000RR. I like that black paint scheme of it. Okay, and even though considering we did say a lot of things about the G310RR, we cannot deny the fact it looks very good.
Yeah, it does look good because it's a BMW.
It's a BMW.
Yeah.
The absolute design factor of it, it's mind blowing.
But design is good, obviously.
It's good.
I'll add to it that it's not the best looking single cylinder
It's
again.
not the best looking. It's not the best looking. But then again, looks are subjective.
But if you like, for you, if you think that the G310 is a good looking, yes, it is. But
If that's
yeah.
what matters to you, then who are we to say?
Exactly. At end
get
of the
that.
day, it's your money.
It's your
I have
money.
seen people buying
If you
super
are
bikes.
happy with it, if you are totally content with it, and if doing much higher speeds, much more power doesn't matter to you, and if you are able to afford it, you are able to
Exactly.
maintain it, get it. We are no one to say anything about it.
I mean, even if you don't like maintain it, that's up to you. That's your motorcycle. We will feel bad about it, but then again, it's yours.
That's another thing we should actually.
We will
get.
cover up. Yeah,
You should get the motorcycle you are able to maintain.
exactly.
That's a deal breaker.
But that only comes when you are passionate about motorcycling.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, just to wrap it up, I'll give a very good example. It's better to ride X-Pulse to its potential than riding maybe like a CV 1000 or to 10%. So that's my take on it. Again, it's all about upskilling yourself, and then you should consider upgrading your motorcycle. So I think we have covered each and every aspects that comes when we think about upgrading to a next motorcycle, a bigger motorcycle. But let me tell you, it's not always a bigger motorcycle. There might be some people who are getting from naked motorcycle like you to an adventure bike. You can also get a 250cc adventure that will still be an upgrade for you. It's not necessary that you have to get a parallel twin, V-twin, this, that. It's not that. At the end of the day, it's your money, your budget, and you decide which one to take. There will be a lot of shitty people who will say that it's not a good motorcycle, it's not this, it's not that, but they did not pay for it.
They did not pay.
So you're paying for the maintenance, you're paying for it, you're paying to buy it, you're paying for the title and everything. So please don't listen to any bullshit that goes around. Any people who demotivate you, don't think all this. Even if you're getting a 150cc from your own hard-earned money, it's a very big deal. So I think we have covered everything, and if you have any questions, if you want to suggest any podcast topics, if you want to join us also, we will be happy to, we will have tea together and we'll talk about motorcycles.
Tease on us, just join us.
Teas and videography is on us. So yes, that's all for today. So if you have any questions, please share in comments, and do share this podcast series, because trust me, this is going to be very big in future. We have bigger plans. Now we are working as a team. It's not a one-man show anymore, and there are very good news in future. You will be able to hear
multiple people coming up.
And yeah, another thing I'd like to add, this is the first time it's happening from Kolkata, I would say, and we might be the next power drift from Kolkata. So it's a very big thing. Please support us. Please follow Pixmax also. And yes, we will see you again in the next video. Bye bye.